of clips where we highlight sorry, comrades, where we highlight the government's acknowledgement that they had John Bosco Kibalama. You'll see the clip, and you probably have seen the clip. Then we'll also play a clip of Johnny Damolira, of what is going on and how the government is trying to brush aside that they don't have John Damolira. We'll also go dive into the key cases we've decided to take. You know, the 18, we can't go through every one of them. So we decided to take two case studies here. One is Martin Irukwago, who is one part of the 18. And then we have Georgie Kasumba. I think my colleague who will be my guest will be giving you more detailed information about these people. And then we'll go into the questioning time. I have a few questions to my guests. And then obviously after we've gone through his questions and his answers to the audience, I will then invite the public out there to give your insights, your questions as to what we're discussing today. How can we solve this conundrum we find ourselves in? So with that, I think we're ready to go. So how did we get here? I'll give you some context and background for those who are not Ugandans, but friends of Ugandans are following Ugandan politics. So we did have a general elections in 2021. And leading up to the elections, it was a heated, as it always is when it comes to politics in Uganda. And the 18 people we're advocating for were picked up or abducted, some prior to the general elections, others during the elections, others post-elections. Yeah. And I'll talk to one specific person who was abducted post-general elections. Her name is Olivia Lutaya, down at a later stage within the program. So, and then we must ask ourselves, who are these 18 people? Did they know each other? Very highly unlikely. These people were picked up at different locations across the country, so they didn't know each other. That far we know. And I can summarize, I can break down these people in 3 categories. Yeah, so you get a clear picture of what we're dealing with and what we're discussing about. The first category is of those who are vying for political positions. Some have been nominated for vying positions either on the local councils, municipality, to members of parliament. That is the first category. And then we have the second category. I will call this category as the diehard of the main opposition, which is the National Unity Platform. These people were very unapologetic, and they were loud and clear about who they wanted to vote in as the president, incoming presidents. So these are the people which, just because they were very vocal and they made their positions as to who they wanted to vote in, they became victims for these to the regime operatives. And then the last batch or the category of people we're talking about within the 18 we're advocating for are those people who got caught in the crossfire. How did they get caught in the crossfire? They were caught in the crossfire randomly, without their own knowledge. How? People were picked up by the but the mere fact that they ended up to have the wrong dress code on the day, for instance, having a Bobby Wine T-shirt, having a slogan which can be attached to the main opposition, which is the National Unity Platform. So either you had a beret, unfortunately today I don't have my beret since I'm a host for the program, or have anything to do with NOP. So those are the kind of categories we are talking about when we talk about the 18 abducted Ugandans. So it's been 3 years, or probably coming, I don't know. And for some, it's even longer, because if you go back to Chibalama, it was picked up even before the elections. So for some, I've been missing longer than the others. Yeah. So, but we can narrow that. If we take the landmark of the general elections as the landmark, we can say 3 years or whatever it is. It's just semantics. So, and the government has gone silent. And surprisingly, not even surprisingly, this is not talked about as we speak today. The government has intimidated the populace to the sense that it's almost like a taboo to talk about these 18 people, which is appalling. I don't know whether this would go well in Kenya, but that's another discussion. So no one on the local scene in Uganda is talking about these 18. Neither are the MPs, the people we vote into the parliament, are talking about these people, which is disgusting and very disheartening. Yeah. And this is to do with the intimidation from the incumbent of the ruling party, NRM. So that leaves us, the people who are abroad in the diaspora. It is our responsibilities as Ugandans in diaspora. We don't lose touch with our brothers and the roots just because we happen to be in the diaspora. So I took, together with my comrades I work with here in the EU, the challenge and the responsibility to time and again re-echo and try and create awareness about our missing comrades. Otherwise, this would be treated as another piece of information which goes by and no one can follow it up. So what is our plea and what is our goal here? Our goal here is to raise awareness to the EU citizenry. Of course, Ugandans, you can watch this, but our message goes to the people in the EU, the local people, the citizens who vote there, people who are running the EU. Yeah. Because these are people who are working with us. They are our development partners. So our plea to the EU citizenry, we call upon you to raise these issues to your local politicians, to drive this up to your government, because your governments are working and they're dealing with our governments. And we applaud and we implore you to support us as you've always been. But the funding you're giving General Museveni has to come with some kind of regulations. You need to task them on the accountability on certain issues as human rights. So a least we know you're doing some part to help us through this. So there has to be some preconditions as to going as far as asking, challenging him, what is going on? It's been 3 years, because the money you invest for the citizen, really, your taxpayers' money is being sent to Uganda, and it's being used to abuse human rights. You can say, okay, it goes to other things, development programs, yes, but let there be a precondition of accountability. So we ask of you, we beg of you to ask of General Museveni to come and account for these 18 people. It's been 3 years, and the government has gone silent. And at this moment, I want to take an opportunity to thank our elderly Muslim leader, the Prince Nachivinge. His time and again, when it requires, has come out to lend a voice to these missing people. That's a noble thing to do. That's what all of us Ugandans should do. And in this argument, it says, if these people have committed crimes, bring them to the course of law, of justice. Let the justice be served. It goes on to say that 3 or 5 years, you call it, if you're keeping score, if you fail to get the evidence, then it's obvious there's no evidence. So do the right thing. Release all political prisoners, especially the 18. They have families, they have relatives, and we're relatives through them because we're a nation of people. So let me go to one specific case, which is very interesting and disturbing. Olivia Lutaya. This is a young lady who happens to be a political activist like anyone. He was not vying for any political seat, but he happened to be a very unapologetic supporter. The interesting part, and which is saddening, is she was picked up 2 months after she gave birth. So she's been held in prison without bringing her to courts of law and charging her for whatever crime they believe or they assume she might have committed, which is very sad. Can you imagine as a mother, and I'm referring to the mothers in Europe, could you figure out that you could at some point be detached to your kid you've barely breastfed 3 months after giving her to birth, and you've not had an attachment to your kid? It is very inhumane for someone to do such a thing, I would think. We have mothers and organizations of advocating for human rights. This message goes to those in Uganda, the women organizations, people advocating to women's rights. We've not seen you come out to advocate for the injustice melted upon this lady. It's time to step up to the plate, I would think. I know there are challenges, but you have to, in difficult times, you have to do the unthinkable. So that is upon you. So for women organizations who are supporting Uganda, I think this is something you should take into consideration. We have a lady who was abducted 2 months after being birth, and she's not seen her son. Actually, she has two sons. She had an elder one already before she was abducted. So, yeah, that's pretty much what I can say of what is going on in Uganda. And before we dive into the discussions, I would like us to take a moment of silence. 1 minute will do to the people we're here to advocate for justice. Great. So I'll take this opportunity to invite my guest, my comrade, Mr. Mugisha. Introduce yourself to our viewers.
Yeah, I thank you, my dear comrade, the host of today, Comrade Chitunzi. I'm very delighted to be here today to deliberate about some of the issues that are very vital for our country. Because when we talk about, as you've mentioned, my name, I'm called Mugisha, and I'm the vice chairperson of the EU in Europe, the NUP in Europe. So it is one of my obligations to highlight some of the issues that are happening back home, because I'm a Ugandan before I become anyone. And it's one of my duties to make the people understand what is the real thing happening back home. Because when we speak about the abduction, this is something that is inhuman, something that is not right. Because when people are abducted, a lot of things happen. They are tortured. Abduction comes along with a lot of things. It comes with agony, sorrow, torture, mental health breakdown of families and the people who have been abducted, family breakdowns, and a lot of things are attributed to what we may call as abduction. So it is more than a word. It is something that shouldn't be happening in this era, in this century of the world, because the world has moved away from such actions long time ago. So I believe we should be open-minded as people of the world. The European Union, the European Commission, the European Parliament, the European government, they have the human rights commissions, they have the human rights charters that really, speak about such things being happening, Because when we talk about that same issue of abduction, I may give you the most recent one of my brother, who was abducted just recently, just a snippet of it. Comrade Mayiga, that guy who calls himself from Nyarwanda wa Bobby, this guy, 2021, he was abducted and a lot of things happened. I remember I was with him back in 2021. And recently, just last week, he came back when he was, tortured to an extent, has bruises of iron, flat irons, He was sodomized. He was, a lot of things happened to him. He was forced to make love with a fellow man without his consent and things of such nature, which is creating a lot of fear and a lot of agony to people. So a lot of things are happening when we talk about torture. We are talking about people who have businesses, people who are not redundant, people who vote, because one of the comrades who was abducted was from voting, people who have families, who have children, who have responsibilities. We are talking about the real problem, because even as I speak right now in Uganda, every day a person who is affiliated to the National Unity Platform, a human rights activist. He is being abducted, even if you make a statement around, even if you don't have followers on Facebook or anywhere, but you speak about human rights and you speak about the atrocities caused by the junta, caused by the dictatorship around your border stage. In the morning, you may be picked up. These are the stories back in Uganda, whereby when you start speaking about the junta, the dictatorship, even your family people, even if it is a family meeting, they will ask you, oyagala tuleetera drone sebo? It means that a lot of fear is being instigated in Ugandans. People don't have rights to speak. People don't have rights to help, to hold the government accountable, because they fear that they will lose their lives. They fear that they will die. They fear that they will lose their children. So this is a deep state problem that really needs to be handled with a lot of knowledge, with a lot of help, with a lot of international observing of the issues. Because even if we speak about the human rights, they are the same people who are, how can I say it, crowns of the vices. They rubber stamp the actions of the dictatorship. Recently we saw an MP being abducted from the court, even if he had a case to answer. He was from court and he was whisked away by people not dressed in uniform, having pistols, having guns, shooting in the air in the premises of the court. And he was abducted. He was taken by unknown people. So a lot of things are happening, and I believe it is the right discussion we have to keep on pushing and talking about. And on top of that, I'll speak about my sister, Comrade Sharon Kemi, a counselor in Kawempe. She was abducted. She's a mother and spent a lot of time in abduction centers. She was brought back with bruises again, just recently. So a lot of things are happening, and every day, things are happening and abductions are taking shape back in Uganda. Back to you, Comrade Chitunzi, to push us more.
Good stuff. So thanks for the introduction, Comrade Mugisha. I think moving forward, I think I will start by sharing the faces of who we are advocating for, or we're lending a voice to. Yeah. So, dear comrades, these are the 18 Ugandans who were abducted leading up to the general elections in Uganda. You have John Bosco Chibalama, you have Joseph Baguma, you have Damolira John, you have Hassan Moiru, you have Moses Mbabazi, you have Peter Kiria, you have Yuda Sempija, you have Vincent Nalumoso, you have Isma Sesazi, you have Godfrey Kisembo, you have Martin Lukwago, you have Mobiru, sorry, I'm not getting his last name. Mobilu there. Then we have George Kasumba. We have Mohammed Kanata. We have Michael Semodu. We have Zimola. We have Mustafa Luemba. So those are the people who are still missing and were abducted. Now, this is an interesting thing, you probably know, and I will show you a clip of where she came out to the media acknowledging that they had John Bosco Chibalama. So this is our prime minister, yeah? So our prime minister, not only the prime minister, together with the Ugandan government, they have to account, they have to produce John Bosco Chibalama, dead or alive. Yeah. This is the same. Yeah. So, and then I'll go in to highlight. Today we're going to only dive into a couple of these victims who made their fate with the government of Uganda, military operatives. We're going to deep dive into Martin Lukwago. My guest will give you more detailed information surrounding him. And then the other person we're going to be also focusing on today, in today's discussion, is George Kasumba. He will give you some re-intro. So who are these people? I can also highlight this. Probably you see them. A minute, comrades. Martin Lukwago. Yeah, that is Martin Lukwago with his kid. Then the other one is Kasumba. These are teenagers or middle age people who we're looking for. God knows how their families are coping up in this day and age, in their absence. So those were the people we wanted you to get to know. Now, moving on, I'm going to play a clip of Nabanja coming out to the media to acknowledge of them having Chibalama. So you'll bear with us.
For example, if you can read, Chibalama John Bosco, abducted on 3rd of June 2019 from Kanyanya, Gayaza Road. Now, how do you trace for Chibalama? But we are fortunate that Chibalama was traced. He was arrested recently in October in a place called Kakiri, and he's one of those that is claimed to have killed police officers in Chiboga, Wakiso, and other places. So there are those who have even declared and accepted that they have been, they are attached to the other rebel group, Coalition for Change. Remember? So such people really cannot be arrested.
So we will move on to a different clip of Johnny Damlida. There with us with the adverts, comrades. Yes, comrades, we're back. Those were the clips. I think I would give a submission on the last video of Johnny Damulira. I think the families and relatives of this gentleman have done what it takes to look for their loved one from across different locations in the country, hospitals, prisons, without any results. The same, and then the judge, as you could see, they were coming from the court, has also challenged and asked that he gets produced in the courts of law. But this has gone to deaf ears. And it's also said in the clip that John Damulira was picked up from his place of work by security operatives and he's never been seen up to today. The other thing which is mentioned in the clip is that government is now disassociating themselves from having anything to do with his whereabouts. Yeah. So that's the kind of dilemma. Not only the family members of this gentleman, but all other 18 find themselves in. And we in the diaspora and those concerned citizens will not give way until we get answers. So I think, yeah, that's where we find ourselves. So Magician, I think, could you, as a leader and as a political activist, tell us the challenges you're facing in mobilizing and creating awareness about these ongoing injustices in Uganda amongst the Ugandans in diaspora? Thanks.
Thank you very much, Comrade. First of all, there's a lot of challenges that really happen. First of all, we face state sabotage, and to make it more, to enlighten more about it, a lot of our comrades that consume our information, you know, they are sabotaged in the way of how can I state it in a way that every person can understand it very well, in a way of tracking their funds, you know. A lot of people back home, because this information is fed to the people back home and to the international world. So we are the bridge between the international world and the people back home. You know, when we talk about activism, it is all about speaking about what is really happening and to speak about the possible solutions that could really, you know, help in covering up or in making these problems go away. So a lot of the people in our spectrum, they are being abducted, they are being killed, they are being imprisoned. They are, because recently you heard about the computer misuse law that was introduced back in Uganda. Its intent is not really about fighting immorality, but it's all about fighting information flow. And when we talk about the sabotage is basically in the information flow between the people on ground with the people who are in the activism spectrum and in the international world. You know, we all know that this is a tactic that the junta uses most of its time. it doesn't allow information to flow steadily, because information is power. So we as people in activism, we as the leaders, the tool that we use to fight for the human rights, to fight for the rule of law, is information, is delivering information. Because some of us, we've got enough knowledge, we've got enough information that we can feed to the people in their local dialects, in their local languages, so that they can really understand what is really happening in Uganda. Because these people in government have really handwicked the Ugandans in the format of, you have enough security, you can sleep very well, and not thinking about the jobs, not thinking about the abduction, not thinking about the corruption, not thinking about anything that is hindering the development of our country. Today morning, as I was preparing to come to the broadcast, I heard very well a Kenyan who was saying that, Mr. Museveni, keep away from the problems of Kenya. Don't talk about the problems of Kenya, because you have a lot of things on your plate in your country. We are on different levels. Deal about the Ugandan side, because every day it is diminishing. Every day you're undergrading yourself, which means that Uganda is not developing, but it is underdeveloping. But the government uses the information tool to showcase that, no, we are in the middle income status, we are riding very well, we are fighting this and this, but inside of it, it is rot. So we catch up that information that these people don't want to go out, and we put it on the table, and the people know it. So the government, in retaliation, they sabotage our information flow by abducting the consumers of our information, our proxies that we use to deliver this information. Because one of the examples I'll give you, it will be of Mumbuya, the recent, our comrade who was, abducted from Bali and accused of burning shops when he was in Dubai or in the Middle East. This person he was an activist using information as a tool to make the people know what is happening. So we are being abducted, we are being killed, we are being subjected to information flow sabotage. So that is what the biggest challenge and we are facing in the duties that we are making. Back to you, comrade host.
Good stuff. So yes, thanks for the submission there. So I'm prompted. I'm having some questions coming up here, or comments coming up in the comment sections. I'll read some of them, even if they're not to do with our discussions today, and then the viewers can have their opinions about what is being communicated here. We have free all political prisoners is one. And then there's another one, free all political prisoners. And then we have Twagala Kabaka. We want our Kabaka back by force. We want our Kabaka by force. We want our Kabaka by force. Those things will go. I'll give you my comments on such comments in our column here, but it's not the main discussion point today. We need to get back on course, but I just wanted to have some kind of break from the challenges you're facing. Just to add on to that, I, as a leader within the EU region, the challenges I'm having is disunity which I still believe exists, and that is for one. Two, the idea of not being so active as Ugandans in diaspora. I can't explain. Well, we have fears. Everyone has their own fears, and everyone has his own threshold of fear. I mean, so that's something which is challenging. We do call upon people to come to some of our activities, and everyone seems to be content on the status quo, even if they know that these people could be their loved ones who are being abducted. So the non-engagement, of our brothers and sisters in the diaspora is really a challenge to drive this message within the EU citizenry. For me, that's what I find a very big challenge. So one thing people forget, that the more silent they become, the more this practice will continue to go on, because they know they've gotten there. What they're intending to do, in a sense that they don't want anyone to bring them to book, to challenge their actions. So the longer we stay silent, the longer this will continue, until one day some people wake up and says, this is not going to stop, to Olivia Lutaya, to Chivalamanda, all those ones we are advocating. It will come to your doorstep, and then it will be too late. So for those in the EU region, there's so many things you can do to drive this message to our EU citizenry, the people we work with. We share different platforms. Recently, people were voting the EU. You have kids going to school and all that stuff. You can engage the local communities. All of you know that we have SIDA. For those in Sweden, these are people who are doing development projects. Right or later, no one is going to know whether you wrote a letter to SIDA or not. It is a private conversation between you and your dissatisfaction of the status quo. So let's start doing the basic things. Write letters to the institutions who are working with our government. It will create a domino effect. If, for instance, we're 5,000 Ugandans in Sweden, let's say, if each and everyone write to SIDA or any organizations working in Uganda, we know these organizations, we know these embassies which are in Uganda. If all of us, and this does not stop with the people in the diaspora, even Ugandans there, if every Ugandan in Uganda wrote daily to the embassies of those active countries in our country, every Monday, we could say that Monday is a emailing campaign to advocate for 18 missing people. Go on the website of these countries. Let's pressure them to cause action. They will not share your email communications with the junta. Those are the basic things you can do. We know you can't come out on the streets, but you can do a mere email. And some of them, I've realized, even they have WhatsApp groups, WhatsApp communication channels. you can't post something. So those are the things we are facing as a diaspora. We don't have so much engagement from some of our comrades, which is fine, because this is not a beauty contest. Like a lot of you guys want to make it, yeah. And we upload the activism in the UK and the US because those are vibrant. Their communities really advocate for change and they go out well to make a statement. Yeah. But that does not deter us, even if we're going to be 2 people on the street. Yeah. Because the message is not to impress on the Ugandans back home that we are advocating for change. The message needs to be directed to the local communities we are in. So our messaging is to the local Swedish person who goes to the retail shop to buy sugar and whatever. And then the message trickles up to these people who are governing these countries. So those who are really thinking they need to come to our demonstrations because they need to see numbers. No, our demonstrations are not to impress the people back home. Our demonstrations are meant to sensitize the local, the domestic, the indigenous Swede, Germans, Swiss, all these French people in Europe of what's going on. So for me, as I always tell our comrades in Europe, it's not a numbers game, it's the content and the messaging. So we are going to be driving that. So for those back home, do the needful. Send a message to the embassies active in Uganda. There's the EU organ there. I would start even from the EU. Message them every now and then. Let's say we call Monday is a messaging day. Every Monday. Like every Uganda has to send a message to the EU, to all the embassies. If we do that, they will feel the heat. So that's what I would suggest. So moving on, Comrade Mugisha, I would like to ask you another pertinent question, which probably resonates to everyone in the struggle in the diaspora. Yeah. What are your expectations from our development partners, the ones who are doing business with our government, in terms of resolving this conundrum we find ourselves, that 3 years or 5 years, or I've lost count, we're still missing and we're still talking about these 18 people. What will it take? And what expectations do you have of our development partners to help us or assist us to really sort this conundrum? And the second part in the question, what recommendations would you, as an activist, make so that we really can go over this nightmare which has befallen our country? Thanks.
Yeah, I thank you very much once again, my dear host. I will strike directly to the point. First of all, as activists and as leaders, we expect the EU, we expect our developing partners to consider what they term human rights articles in their charters. They should revise their charters very well. And because all of them, even private companies, like the Total Energies, like the Peugeot, because I saw Peugeot recently launched that they will start, exporting cars to Uganda. Like a lot of developing partners, big companies, big entities, they have charters that really govern them when they are doing their work. And in these charters, there are some human rights clauses. They should revise them very keenly and see if they resonate with what is happening in Uganda. If it is not really resonating with what is happening in Uganda, which is really the right thing? Because what is happening in Uganda, it is really against what is in their charters. So they should stop funding. They should follow their laws that they really stipulated, they put in their documents. They should follow their laws and stop funding and stop injecting money that is not being used to develop Ugandans, but money that is used to step on human rights, to step on rule of law in Uganda, which means they are really funding the misery of Ugandans. They are not funding the development of Ugandans, because even in broad daylight, you see people in government swindling money, using money to bribe. You saw the man of cooperative being stolen. You saw the iron sheets being stolen, money for relief being stolen, the money for AIDS, money for malaria, being stolen. And the people who are accused with clear evidence of stealing this money, they are being used to convert votes for the junta, to rubber stamp the junta governance of our country, which means that this money is only being used to fuel human rights violations in Uganda. So this money should stop flowing in Uganda, because every government wants a government that it can work with, but a government that is fertile on ground. And I can really tell you that the current junta in Uganda, it is not fertile, it is not worthy a penny for you to invest in, because the more you invest into it, the more it will create misery to the people of Uganda, and the more you will never get the results that you really want to get. It means that you're using the taxpayers' money of people from your government, because the money you give to these people back in Uganda who are torturing Ugandans, it is money from the taxes of the people from your government. These are taxes of people from Europe, from the United States. These are taxes of people of your countries that you're misusing. I call upon the committees that oversee the accountability of this government to see where their government are investing this money, because if they can oversee and see that their money is being misused by being given to the junta, they can hold their government accountable. So we should look for where we are investing. You should stop funding the dictator. This is the expectation I look upon when I'm speaking about this. The embassies, the foreign missions in Uganda, they should do an oversight on the ground. They shouldn't rely on the government documents, that the embassy is waiting for a document from the Ministry of Agriculture to highlight how the funding was being used. But rather, the embassy should send people on ground, make research, make reports, real reports. This can facilitate you to know that the money you're giving is not being used, but rather it is being misused. And another thing, what I recommend, as you said earlier, I recommend the young people of Uganda to emulate what is happening in Kenya. You should emulate the zeal. You should emulate what is happening. It was only a bill that was introduced, but right now Kenya is on standstill because the young generation of Kenya is standing up to hold the government by grip, And we know Kenya is a democratic country, well and good. What about the problems that are happening in Uganda? So the generation of Uganda should wake up and hold the government accountable. write to the embassies, as the host told you, write to them, deliver letters there, write to their emails, write to the ambassadors, ask them to do accountability of the funds. As citizen, you have a right to write to the foreign mission that yes, you gave us a gift, but our gift was not delivered to us. Our gift was eaten by the sender, by the carrier. The gift you gave me, the carrier you gave it to deliver to me, he sat on the roadside and ate it. You have to raise your voices louder and louder. Back to you, comrade host.
Thanks. So I think you made a few remarkable comments there, which resonate to me. As someone who lives in the EU, it's really disturbing that a big bloc as EU, which advocates for those who are in Ugandan, I think the EU is built on. I think is built on. I think they're built on advocating for human rights. I think that is the basic foundation on which the EU was founded, to advocate for human rights and a lot of other principles which it runs and functions on. And we're really disappointed that for such a big bloc, which has so many countries who are active in Uganda, they have turned a deaf ear. We know they are our development partners in a sense. We do a lot of projects they're doing. But you're doing all these such projects in a chaotic environment where people are missing their loved ones. Until they sort that kind of complex problem, they can pour as much money in the economy, and it will not trickle down to the normal people because they are in dire misery. Some of the communities of the people have detached themselves from any of these government programs, except to the elite, of course. But I think they can see the writing on the wall. They can see what they're funding as is yielding. In terms of the corruption scandals, I think these last months it's all about scandals from left and right, starting from the lead of the parliament to everyone. So there has to be some kind of sanity. And I think they need to get to the drawing board and question the reasoning behind funding a country which is in total chaos as it is. It's like being whitewashing all our cries in terms of the injustices which are melted upon our citizens. I don't think that will hold water, that a government in the EU will entertain a disappearance of each citizen, even if it's one citizen to disappear, without stopping anything they're doing to address the question. For those who are listening from Uganda, I know this is a project to the European community, but you have to probably do your homework. We've seen cases of Europeans being abducted in developing countries. You can do your homework, and you will ask yourself, how are these countries address these problems? They will stop at nothing before they get their citizens to safety. So my question to you out there in Uganda, are you second-rate citizens? That the EU sits in Uganda and then it doesn't address your cries. And I'm not advocating for someone to abduct for any kind of action to be melted upon our development partners. But I think you need to question their position on the situations going on in Uganda. And this goes back to them. I think they need to stop the double standards. All of us were shocked here in the recent EU Business Forum. Promoting trade in which kind of environment? Some countries went as far as pushing so many countries there to do business in Uganda. In which kind of environment? When people are missing their relatives and brothers for ages without accountability, and we're doing trade. Who's going to work in those countries, or in the factories or business ventures out there? Missing people or kids? I think we need to get back to the spirit of Ubuntu. I think, if I'm right, humanity. Let's all share the same world and advocate for the rights like you live and enjoy in Europe. And getting back to the challenges we are facing here in Europe or the EU, as people who are living in the EU, we've not seen any kind of really tough, stand by the EU. We've seen some kind of really good stand by the US government and the UK. It's not news that the speakers of a parliament was really, put a ban to never step a foot in the UK. The AGOA trade government agreement has been cancelled. That sends a message. But no European country to date has come out to say, Museveni, we're not going to give you this because we don't see any kind of transparency with regards to human rights, especially in respect to sorting this problem, which is ongoing, and you are part of, and the government we are trading with is part of. So I think the European Union, our development partners, really need to step to the plate to call out General Museveni to address the 18 abducted Ugandans before, during, and after the elections. And to add on that, I don't know what's going on in the Ugandan government and how they run the country. How do you explain the ongoing abductions even to date when we're missing 18 people already? My comrade mentioned he's a comrade who he actually knows. Who goes by Munyarwanda Bobby, who abducted recently, and he came out when they had burnt all his body with flat iron, bruises all across his body. What is the threshold, and what will General Museveni and his government do to the people of Uganda that will have you as our development partners say enough is enough? Museveni, you have to solve this problem. That's my question to the EU institutions and our development partners. So moving ahead, I think we get into where we said we need to dive into the two cases, Georgie Kasumba and Martin Lukwago. Can you take it away, Comrade Mugisha? And I will start by probably highlighting sharing the picture of Martin Lukwago. I think I can start with Martin Lukwago, so our viewers know who is this gentleman. Comrade Mugisha, do we have Martin Lukwago on the screen?
Yeah, we have him. We have him.
Good stuff. Good stuff. Just checking. So this is a gentleman for all our viewers. So please carry on.
Yeah, I thank you, Honorable or Comrade host. First, as we talk about this person, we are talking about a person, as both of you can see, 35 years of age, Martin Lukwago, a businessman, abducted in 2020, and right now we are in 2025. That marks how many years? Those are 5 years. With a number of children, two children. What does this mean? It means that these children are in agony. It means that the family is in agony, because until as we speak right now, he is unaccounted for. And when we raise our concern to the Human Rights Commission of Uganda, they will come up with nonsensical statements. I'm sorry to use that word, but it is really nonsensical to accuse him of that. Some people, they are in Dubai working, you know, for sure. How can a person who is working for 5 years, who ran out of the country for 5 years, doesn't have a communication channel with his or her family? Let's use our mindset as human beings. Let's think beyond before we speak. Let's use our hearts. Let's use our mind before we speak. You know, all of us, we heard Madame Nagadia speaking nonsensical statement that Comrade Martin Lukwago, you know, Comrade Martin Lukwago, you know, they don't know, he abducted himself. He lost in thin air. And then after, the government brought a stupid stunt that I've ever seen in this world, you know. And they say very clearly, they wake up in the morning and they bring a person claiming that this person is Martin Lukwago, you know. I'm sorry, you know, claiming that he is Martin Lukwago. But seriously, a person who was married, a person who has family, you try to play nonsensical stunts, not taking care, not thinking about how it will hurt the family, the wife, the children who even resemble him, and the family hasn't come out to deny that yes, our person is not lost, and you bring a person without even the family or a father or a mother or an auntie to come out and say, yes, this is our son. The NUP people are lying to you, our son is here. But rather you go to Mulago, you pick a person who, got his own problem to claim that, these NUP people found me in hospital and registered me. I believe even Mulago has a register where they register when someone came in, what brought him in, who brought him in. They are well documented. You can't even bring out the real information that really has to come out, but you rather come out yapping, speaking nonsensical statements. A full RDC who is, they say that is a representative of a president in a community, head of security meeting in the district or in the place where he is designated. You utter out nonsensical statement. You rub in the wounds of the family of Martin Lukwago. Where he was working, people knew him. He was not a ghost. He had business. He had business associates. And these are the people who are coming up to say that our comrade, our brother, our friend was abducted and is lost. This goes back to the thing that I spoke about in the beginning when I was doing a preamble. Information flow, information sabotage. I believe people who are on this live, you should be sharing more and more so that we open the eyes of the people of Uganda so that they can get information. We should hold this government by grip because the wife is there grieving. For 5 years, he hasn't been getting his marital rituals. It means even if our comrade Martin comes back, he may find when the wife is long gone. If the wife is not so strong, that is let down.
Mogesha, could we move on to Kasumba?
Yes, we can. But
if you're
be so more attached about these issues because these people are taking Ugandans for granted.
I know, and we can't help it but be emotional when it comes to these really touching stories. So I understand where you're coming from, but give us some breakdown on George Kasumba, please.
Yeah, I thank you very much. I would speak about comrade or brother George Kasumba. As you see on the poster, 39 years of age, also a businessman, abducted in 2021. We are talking about 4 years of abduction with 3 children who want basic needs, to go to school, to eat, medical. As you know, Uganda medical is so expensive, school is so expensive, feeding is so expensive. Even if a relative takes up the mantle, even the relative has his family that he's taking care of, And this person was abducted on his way after casting a vote, which means that he is a responsible citizen of the country, registered as a voter, He's a person who has a business. He's a person who was paying taxes, a person who was not redundant, who was not rouge, a person who was, working, a person who was taking care of family and other people, We are talking a person who really had something to do for his country, who knew his rights. And he was a supporter of change. I can put it out loud and clear. Let's think about the 3 children of Comrade George Kasumba. What are they thinking right now? What is the wife of George Kasumba thinking about right now? What are they thinking about? How are they living in misery? They don't know where their person is. They can't locate him, you know. This is the kind of situation that really keeps on going on and on, on and on, on and on. And the question is, when will it stop? Because all these people we are talking about, 35 years of age, 39 years of age, these are the people that should be developing our country. But instead they are being abducted, tortured, and some are being killed. You know, this is a father, this is a person with business. So we should really wake up and hold the government accountable for such malicious actions. I thank you, and I forward to you back, my dear host.
Good stuff. So yeah, as you can hear, this is not a random matter or a joking matter. People are concerned. Even ourselves, we're humans. We can't help being carried away and emotional, because what touches our brothers and sisters really touches us to the core. So for those who think that we don't have anything to do other than being on Sunday discussions about our loved ones, I think you need to get the right side of you need to go to revise your moral compass. Yeah, we're talking of people who are missing their family. One thing which really disturbs me as someone who lives here in the diaspora, especially in Europe, in these developed countries, is that if this happened here, of these 18 missing people abducted, if by any chance any police they had committed any crime here, the families of these people would still have a safety net, because the government will be fending for them if anyone committed a crime and they're charged for that. But where is the support system? For you who thinks that this is a joking matter, do you know what the families and the kids of these people are going through? Is there any support system that the government of Uganda has put in place that, okay, we're still investigating the 18, but we must take a responsibilities of catering to the families and kids, immediate kids of these people. I don't think whether people think about along those lines, but you can imagine what these families are going through. Knowing the government of General Museveni, I don't think they think about along those lines. They don't care. Yeah, it is not their duty. What moral duty do they have to the citizens? I think when you go back to the swearing in of every president, yeah, you come out, you swear on the Bible that you're going to protect Ugandans with their property. So where is the protection safety net you've given these families without giving and resolving their case? So this goes to General Museveni. You swore to protect the citizens of Ugandans. whether they have committed crimes or not. But how are you safeguarding the safety of the families of those who are abducted? That goes to you, General Museveni. So I think we're going on to the next phase of the program, whereby we want to entertain some kind of questions from our viewers out there. So don't feel shy. Call in on the number which you saw on the poster. It's my WhatsApp number, so it wouldn't cost you a lot to call me from there if you have some data or internet. So you're welcome to share your insights and questions to us so we can delve into that. Thanks.
Yeah, Comrade, I think you can even read again the number, because some people are just joining in because they found the live going on and they didn't have the poster. So you can reread the number.
Good stuff. Thanks for reminding me that. So my number for those who are calling from abroad, if you're to serve this, is +46 for Sweden, 7074 70608. I'll repeat it slowly, maybe that was a little bit fast. The number is +46, that is the country code for Sweden, 7074 70608. So we welcome your insights, questions, discussion points along the lines of today's theme, comrades. Let's stick to the 18 abducted Ugandans. Any other topic, please don't address it. Let's stick to the theme for today. Thanks.
And they can even use the comment section to put in their questions.
Yeah, actually, yeah, as my guest and comrade has suggested, feel free to share your questions in the comment section. We can read it out loud and we can address it in the best way we can. It seems our audience is a little bit shy. Maybe it's time to, it's been almost 1.5 hours. I think that's pretty much a standard to have a program in 1.5 hours. Beyond that, that probably, depending on the turn up, would be probably over the top. So I think, comrades, our viewers and listeners, if you don't have any questions, we would like to summarize today's sessions for a pertinent issue to all Ugandans and friends of Ugandans, where we still, 3 years plus, we're still advocating for our abducted comrades for political reasons. So I think I'll start with you, my guest, dear Comrade Mugisha. Your closing remarks before we
Okay. Should I?
Yes, please proceed.
Yeah, I thank you, my comrade, for the time that you've given me. Yes, their life has gone over for 1.5 hours. It means that we haven't even hit all of the issues. It means that the issue is big and very big. So we should deliberately every now and then be doing the same thing. We should be speaking about these same issues. I was here and I read a certain comment where one of our comrade, the ambassador of EU in the National Unity Platform, our comrade, spoke, comrade Nico, Dr. Nico, spoke about the real thing is that it is a genocide happening in Uganda. I concur with you, and I thank you for being for viewing and being always up on stand to see how we can deliver our country. My comrade, I want to tell you that really it is true. A genocide is happening in Uganda. People are being abducted and killed. And when we go to the definition of a genocide is where people are killed in large numbers, and these people are unaccounted for. Extrajudicial killings. We've had our president of the National Unity Platform speaking about extrajudicial killings, speaking about abductions and issues of the same fact. The issue is that a lot of things are happening. And as I conclude, you will allow me to push my voice and a sorry message to my brothers and sisters from Luigi. I was a youth general secretary for youth of Nansana Division and Nansana Municipality before. So these are people that were close to me, people that I used to talk to, walk along with. So these are people, there is a personal attachment to them. But before there is that personal attachment, these are Ugandans being chased out of land, over 1,000 and above. And people who, have bigger businesses affiliated to the government, their business are still standing in the same places where citizens who pay taxes, who are not stealing, who have families, people who had land there from 1950s are being chased out of land without compensation, without showing them where to go, without anything. This shows that the country is really fragile. These are citizens of Uganda. They deserve to be handled with care. We don't entertain speech which degrade them, speech that really shows that they are nothing but zero, whereby a person can go on state news or on TV and say, those people who are there, they are stupid. These are citizens. And once you catch a Bible, a Quran, and swear to the Lord that you will protect the people of Uganda, if you're under a democratic republic, the word republic resonates to people. People make a republic. These are the people. That means you're breaking the republic. You're breaking people. So you should wake up and understand that we are talking to people. Thank you. I think I will deliberate after I think we've got my comrade who has something to say.
Yes, comrades, thank you, Mugisha, for calling for your submission. We were interrupted by someone calling. So I guess.
Give my submission that I really appreciate all the efforts. Okay, or you want me to wait?
Yes, yeah, go ahead. You're loud and clear.
Okay, thank you very much. My name is Joel Castro. I'm calling from Sweden. Let me first of all appreciate this initiative where you're trying to reach out to speak to powers within the EU institutions and the citizenry. I think this is very engaging. This is very, very, very positive. I think that has been the missing link, yes, and we know that Uganda of its own volition will not make any changes towards or make any reforms towards respecting human rights. This remains the elephant in the room. So really, I think this is about holding the EU and other partners, other development partners to account. We hold them accountable. Accountability is not just about holding. It is also about donors playing their role, holding the recipient governments accountable. And here's why the EU, if we talk about respective or the individual members, they're signatories of various international conventions. They actually bind them to make human rights a big issue, and therefore it becomes part of the governance equation. So they should not give aid to countries. They should not give aid to countries that are grossly violating human rights. And of course, Uganda is number one, or at least amongst the leading countries. So we as EU, we as Ugandan citizens, we as Ugandans living in the diaspora would like to hold the EU accountable. It has to play its role. It is a signatory of, for example, the international, it is a signatory of the Universal Declaration of Human Rights, which calls for prioritizing human rights in any transactions, in any dealings. It is a signatory of the International Covenant on Economic, Social, and Cultural Rights, which equally prioritizes rights. So in other words, the EU must demand of Uganda to respect human rights as a precondition for any transactions, as a precondition for even giving aid, and they are not doing that. We see that, there are credible reports out there, so it's not a question of lack of reports or lack of investigation. All the evidence is out there. Now, for the EU to, on the one hand, pretend to uphold human rights and democratic principles, while on the other hand, it is aiding and abetting human rights violations in Uganda, just beggars description. So we are calling upon the EU to stop funding Museveni. We are calling upon the citizens of the EU to demand that their governments and their institutions are doing the right thing, and therefore they should at this juncture stop supporting Museveni. Any amount and money that is going to Uganda is just helping to aid and abet the gross human rights violations. It is very, very important that these demands are put forth, and here's why. Any continued support of Museveni surely legitimizes the dictatorship and whitewashes the atrocities that are being committed. Secondly, in efforts towards helping Museveni in the current climate just continues to undermine our efforts to liberate ourselves, and this is very regrettable. And thirdly, any continued efforts, or continued support of the dictatorship merely prolongs the suffering of Ugandans, and it prolongs the suffering and oppression of Ugandans. And I really think this goes against the very values that they stand for. And fourthly, and very, very importantly, in support of Museveni, if they do not take action, merely emboldens the dictator to go on suppressing people. because he knows there are no consequences. And this is really what's happened. The period he has been in power, the 40 years he has been in power, the EU, notably, if we're talking about countries, individual countries, Sweden is one of them, France is one of them. They've just continued to support, to religiously support the dictator without putting any preconditions. And that's why he couldn't be bothered. He just goes on killing. He wakes up and on the whims of his mind, he decides, oh, he will kill and we will not kill, because there are no consequences. I think the time has come for the EU to follow the example of the US, to follow the example of the UK. So what is it that makes the EU reluctant to impose sanctions when all the reports are out there, when the US has acted on those reports, when the UK has acted on those reports? We really think it is time that the EU came on board. In particular, we call upon Jan Sadek, that is the EU representative in Uganda. We've seen he has really been causing up with the regime when he should be holding them accountable. So, in summary, as I summarize, ladies and gentlemen, accountability is not just about the EU holding Uganda accountable. It is also about the citizens. It's about the Ugandans in the diaspora holding the EU institutions, the EU citizens. We are holding them accountable, that they must live up to the conventions that they've signed up. Once again, Mr. Host, we thank you very much and we appreciate this initiative, and we hope that the Ugandans are going to continue to rally behind your efforts. And maybe finally, let me say this to the citizens, to the Ugandans in the diaspora. We are so privileged to be where we are, but we're playing a minimum. We're not doing enough. I really think everyone should come up. Speak to your local representative. You have the internet, you have the skills. Write to these different institutions and ask them to stop supporting Museveni. So this is something that we must do, and we must step up, increase the pressure. If we leave it to Museveni himself to wake up and have a good heart to forgive our people or to release them, that is not going to happen. Our people are not going to get justice. Thank you very much. Once again, over to you, Mr. Host. Thank you.
Thanks, Comrade Joe, for your submissions. I couldn't agree more to what you just said. EU needs to do more, just to be on point. So I'm going to bring on a comrade who requested I call him. Is our EU ambassador, Comrade Nico. I don't know why he can't call me, but requested me to call him. Let me see. Let me see if he picks up. So hold on, our viewers.
Robert, how are you?
I'm good. How are you today? Thanks for tuning in.
Yeah, you're welcome, Robert, and hi to all viewers of the program. Can I say something about the 18 abducted?
Excuse me?
Yeah, so can you hear me well?
Yeah, I can hear you, but I didn't hear the last question. What is it that you want to address?
Yeah, so what I wanted to address is that the 18 abducted.
Yeah.
It's the tip of the iceberg. So what we can basically say, those 18, they have likely experienced the worst.
Yeah.
Because we keep records. And we have now identified 3,000 names of people that were subject of the crimes of the dictator. Of those 3,000, about 2,000 experienced illegal arrests and abductions. And then the abductions can be further qualified in drones or people arrested by police. So many people also get arrested during demonstrations. But since these people, it's on camera, so usually these ones return. But what are the worst ones are obviously those teams by the dictator that knock on your door at night and that take the people and because it's all done anonymous, these are the people that experience the worst torture. And so I saw some comments on this great episode. And one of the comments was free the 18 abducted. And I think we need to be honest. I think without any exception, they're all dead. Chigolama, of these 18, he was the first to be abducted, and that was 5 years ago. And then if you look at the dates of those 18, it goes up until elections, so that is now 3 years ago. So these people have been tortured to death, and likely their bodies have been dumped in Lake Victoria. Now they are dead, but what we want is obviously justice. And I think what I want to know, what is the worst thing, is that of some of these people, their existence is even denied. And that because this subject of the 18 abducted from Parliament, it got to the Ugandan Human Rights Commission. They were already notified when it happened in 2021, and they stuck their head in the sand. And because this issue was addressed at some moment, they had no choice but to react. And it was such a horrible act for the family and the friends of these people to simply say some of these people do not exist, right? So that is just horrible. And what we need to continue to do, we need to document these stories. And now, as you know, me and a team of Ugandans, we made a submission to the International Criminal Court. And I can share that we have a couple of those 18 in our files that are submitted to the ICC, but not all of them. Because we don't have the statements of their families. But I hope what we can do as movement, other opposition, and let's be fair, some of these people were not even nuked, they were just random people abducted. Let's collect these testimonies so that these 18 abducted, that each one of them is also going to the International Criminal Court. I want to ensure that these 18 also get on the desk of the European Parliament. 2 weeks ago, a new parliament is chosen. Some of you may know that I am the European ambassador, and obviously I discuss with our contacts in the European Parliament what to do against the crimes of the dictator. By the way, I'm very happy that they explicitly call him the dictator. And what we need to do is document those crimes, because that is how these things work. By putting on their desk these undeniable facts, but in written form, it makes our case stronger. So what we saw, I think it was like a year ago, yeah, it was in November, when we were still trusting mpuuga. In that moment, he was bringing it to Parliament. He recorded a number of videos. I remember the team of our president also recorded some videos, and that was very good to hear those personal stories of the villages where our comrades were abducted from. But we also need those in paper. Coming back to the Ugandan Human Rights Commission, that is denying that these people were abducted. The interesting thing is, some of these people were not abducted alone, because this is what I kind of unhappy about the 18 abducted. Because I know one of them that was abducted among 12. There were 12 of them abducted at that time in that drone. But he was just the only one that didn't return. And the other 11 returned. And they can all testify for this person, and I forgot the name, being abducted. And those people, obviously, the Uganda Human Rights Commission, they refused to talk to them because they're witnesses, and that would force them to take their head out of the sand. So what I would like us as opposition to do, let's collect all those evidences so that I can again submit them to the International Criminal Court. And then my advice to Ugandans is, when you talk to white people like me or other people not aware of the Ugandan situation, please also highlight that these 18 are just the tip of the iceberg. Thank you, Robert, for doing this program.
Thanks for calling in or sharing your insights. Always a pleasure to speak with you, Aniko. Have a lovely afternoon.
Okay, you're welcome. Bye-bye.
Thanks. So, dear viewers and listeners, I think you've heard it from the host's mouth. And to add on to what is said, it's very important to re-echo, to reiterate of what we need to do. Yeah. I think I would agree with him that much as we're pushing the 18, and the theme is the 18 abducted, these hundreds, the thousands of people who are picked up across the country, who are rotting